Well, whether you've never built a bus route before, or your bus routes look like spaghetti and are draining your city budget, this video's for you. It's time to learn the basics. So let's get started. So the first question I have for you is, which bus route model do you prefer? Do you prefer the one on the left, the hub and spoke or radial system, or the one on the right, a grid system? Well, let's talk about it for a bit. On the left, if you said, hey, that looks like a bicycle wheel with the hub in the middle and spokes going to the outside, you'd be correct. And I apologize to the people in the mass transit industry. These are obviously very simplified depictions of these two systems. But if you look, the general concepts are there, that in the middle is the hub where all the buses would congregate, and then the routes radiate out to the outer edges of the city. And of course, there are variations on this theme. You can have more than one hub. On the right-hand side, we have a grid system. And if you said, hey, that kind of looks like a tic-tac-toe grid, well, that's exactly what it is. But again, it's a simple depiction of what the routes would look like. So we have routes running up and down this way, and we have routes running perpendicular. So basically, the routes run parallel and perpendicular to each other. My personal preference is the grid system for a number of reasons. For me, it represents simplicity. It's easy to understand how a rider can get from point A to point B. A lot of bigger cities in North America have a grid system, at least in their central core areas anyway. And once the grid is complete, you can travel just about anywhere you want in the city by bus with minimal walking. And on top of that, the path you would take on the bus is often the same or similar to the path you would take if you were driving in a car. So ultimately, with the grid system, anybody taking the bus can probably get to somewhere in the city almost as easily as somebody taking a car with minimal walking, as long as the grid system is complete. In any event, for all those reasons, I prefer the grid system, and that's just my personal preference. So for purposes of this discussion, that's what we're going to go with. So we've decided we're going with the grid system. So the next thing we have to decide is, where do we build our bus depot? So I'll just click on the bus and go down to the bus depot here. I have actually two types of bus depots, a biofuel bus depot and a regular bus depot. And if you have the regular vanilla game without any DLCs, you'll have this regular bus depot. And it doesn't really matter from a functionality perspective. They both work the same as far as the bus routes go. They just have some little bit differences about them. So the bus depot automatically sends out buses for your bus lines. And we build lines with the bus stop tool. And you can adjust the number of buses available by raising or lowering the city's public transportation budget. The biofuel bus depot works just like a regular bus depot, except that it sends out biofuel buses instead of regular ones. The biofuel buses are much more quiet than a regular bus, but they carry just as many people. And again, you have to place a depot before creating the lines. And in terms of where we place a depot, as long as the buses can get from the depot to the bus line, all you need is one bus depot in your city. Unless, of course, if you want both a regular bus depot and a biofuel one. So I've chosen a biofuel one, and I'm going to show you the location that I've built it. Built it right here, and you'll notice that it's kind of in an ugly little spot. It's right beside the landfill site and a busy highway. And the reason I did that is, well, A, from this location it can access anywhere in the city, and B, a service like a bus depot really doesn't care that it's near a landfill site or a busy highway or anything like that, whereas a residence does. So since those types of services don't care where they are built, then why not fill up spaces like this with those types of services? So that's what I've done. So we've built our first bus depot, and the only one we need. So now we can actually start building our first bus route. So take a look at this scene in City Skylines and tell me what you see. You see Sims walking, right? But look at how far they're walking. So they're walking, in this case, they're walking 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, even 4 blocks. Now I don't know what the artificial intelligence or AI of the game is set at. Maybe they can actually tolerate walking farther distances. But what we've observed here is they'll walk at least 4 blocks. So to be on the safe side, what we could do, or what that tells us, is we could space our bus stops 3 blocks apart in general, and the Sims will be willing to walk that distance to get to a bus stop. And that's a good place to start. And of course, that may vary if the bus is turning a corner or we're at the end of a loop, but it's a place to start. And if we find out that it's not working later, we can always add or subtract bus stops. But now we know, on average, we're going to start with bus stops about 3 blocks apart. So we've decided we're using the grid system, and we're going to space our bus stops about 3 blocks apart. So let's get started. And I am going to put a bus route on this road here. I know it's a main road, and that's probably not generally a good idea, but in my case, the way I've got the road set up, it's where all the people are focused. So that's where the need is. So, and the reason to not have too many bus routes on your main road is every time a bus slows down to go to a bus stop or turns away to get out of a bus stop, it slows down traffic. And the more bus stops you have, the worse it gets. But nonetheless, I'm going to try to set it up that way. So I go to the transit tool, the transit button, I should say. And there's my bus line tool. So this will help us place bus stops to create a line, and bus stops need to form a circular line. Buses are automatically sent out from the bus depot once we set up the line. So I'm going to set it up, and like many bus routes, I'm going to have a little loop at the end. And now, see, it always likes to do that kind of thing on me, and it's a little bit irritating. It gets a little carried away and wants to set up loops for you. So just watch that and make sure you get the loop that you want, not the loop that it wants. I just wanted to go down here, and maybe my first bus stop is right there. And people seem to like that. I'm going to go there. And maybe one last bus stop just before I go down this area. Then another bus stop here. Then I'm going to have to loop around. So I will loop around like this. There's a nice loop. And back this way. You can see I'm spacing them out a fairly good distance, and again I'm going to close the loop. That thing is tricky. It jumps all over the place on you like that, and then we complete the line. So there's our first bus route that's going, I'll say east-west. And we're in a general area where there looks to be lots of needs, there's lots of pedestrians, and there's a high amount of a high density of, what word am I looking for? A high density of residential development. There, I found it. Now the next thing we do, since we're going to do a grid, we got to go one that's perpendicular to that. So I'm going to start up here on that side. You see, it wants to do all these loopy things that I don't want it to do. And there, just watch it to make sure it's doing what you want it to do. And you want to put a bus stop that's fairly close to this intersection, because people are going to get off at this bus stop to transfer to the one that goes, as I said, in east-west direction. Then we'll go down this way. And then we got to finish off and do a loop. So in this case, I think I'm going to go around this way. And maybe I will go all the way to the end, back, loop around. And although I've put bus stops generally opposite each other, they don't have to be that way. I could put this bus stop, for example, here. But where there's transfers, like you would in a major city, you'd want those bus stops to generally be close together. So I'll put one there, and there, and then up here, and then we'll close the loop. So there, we've built our first grid system bus lines or bus routes. So now we'll let those bus routes run for a little while, and we'll come back and see how they're doing. So now that our bus routes are built and we have a bus depot, as you can see here, it's sending out the buses. And oh, one just about hit a truck there. Anyway, I thought it's kind of neat to see that this is where they emanate from, and why they're turning right as opposed to left here, I don't know. But they're picking the route they want to go to get to the route they're going to service. In any event, I just thought it was neat to see that. And as I said, I'll let the game play for a while and give the buses a chance to get out there and get on their routes and pick people up. And we'll come back and see how they're doing. So we've let the bus routes run for a little while, but how do we know they're efficient? Well, look at the pile. There's a whole pile of people standing there. So let's, just going to pause the game for just a bit so this bus doesn't run away on me. I'm going to click on it. So as we can see, this is bus line number 2, which runs this way. And it's gone only 27% of its route, and it's carrying 30 of 30 passengers. In other words, it's full. So if we go to line details, we can get even more information. That, you know, here's the vehicles and here's the stop. So look, here's the number of people that are waiting at the bus stop. So there's 123 there, for example. So we got a lot of people waiting at a bus stop. Now this is the vehicle count modifier here. We've got 7 out of 7 buses running on 100% of the budget for that route. And what we could do is we could up that number. And there's more information up here. There's the length of the route, how many weekly passengers, how many car trips saved. I find that number hard to believe. It says 0%. Maybe I just haven't let the game run long enough, because if it's going 100% capacity, the bus is full. And maybe what I'll do is you can also change the color of the bus line. So for example, if they're all blue, there's sometimes when you get a lot of bus lines, it's hard to pick out. So I can, make it, just a different color. And you notice that the bus actually changed color. So what I'm going to, if I go, I don't want to delete the line, but you could do a lines overview and see now this bus line's a different color. And you can see how many stops there are, how many vehicles, and how many passengers it's carrying. So this looks a little bit odd, and like I say, maybe it's a little early yet, and I should let the game run just a little bit more. So let's do that, and we'll come back and see how it's doing. Alright, let's come back and let's see how things are going. So this is the east-west route, which is line 1, and look at all the people here. That's a lot of people at a bus stop. And here comes a bus. So when it gets there, I'm just going to pause the game, and I'm going to click on the bus. So it's already full. It's got 30 out of 30 people on the bus, and the distance traveled is 0%. So holy smokes, this thing is full already. So I think I need to go to line details, and I'm going to up the count modifier to give it 11 buses. I'm going to change that because yeah, there's 395 people at this one stop. I'm not sure if that stop is this one or another one, but that's a lot of passengers standing at a stop. Well, let's go 12. So I get 12 buses out of it. Okay. And then I'm going to go over to the other bus line here. Let's try to see if I can find a bus that's on the line number 2. And look at that. There's just a ton of people there. I'll hit play so a bus will come along. But there's just a lot of people standing there. And if you can imagine, in a real city, they'd be pretty upset. And it's taking a while for a bus to get there. So it's got to be coming along soon, you would think. At least that's what they would hope, that's for sure. Where did all the buses go? Okay, there's a blue one right there. I'm just going to hit pause and click on that bus. Okay, it's got 0 of 30 and it's only gone 11% of its route. That one's 0 of 30. So they've kind of all stacked up and they're coming this way. So let's just see what happens here. And why there's 3 buses all stacked up like that, I don't know. You would think they'd be more spaced out. But they don't seem to do that for some reason, because logically that's what a real bus route would do. Okay, what just happened there? The buses just went by. Okay, what just happened there? Did my eyes deceive me? I just thought the buses went right by there without stopping. Oh, maybe those are buses. That's what it is. Those are buses that are on their way to the other route. It's the pink ones on this route. That's what that is. Alright, let's look at the pink ones. Okay, that makes more sense. Oh, my heart almost stopped there. I couldn't figure out why are those buses completely empty. Well, the reason is that those are more buses coming from the depot to service the other route where we just increased the numbers. So similarly, I thought something was really wrong there. So similarly, in this case, this bus only gone 17% of its route, and it's already completely full. So if we go to line details, it's certainly overloaded, and they're well justified in increasing the number of buses. So I'm going to increase it like that, and so it's basically 200%. And hopefully what will happen is that there will be more buses sent out, and these piles of people that you see standing there won't be there after a while. So let's hit play, and we'll come back after a while and we'll see how it's doing. Okay, so we've let the game play for a little while, and I think there's some funny things happening because we only have 2 bus routes and there really is a need for a lot more. So I'll just pause the game for a second. So for example, on this blue line, it's still, very full. And if I look at the line details, what I did do is I went back and jacked the vehicle count modifier right up to 500%. So it's as high as it will go. It's 34 out of 34. And I did something similar on the other line. I didn't quite go up as high, but I did go up high. And for that one, I've gone up to, let's go to line details, and I've gone to 300%. So basically, it's the only mass transit in town, these 2 routes, and they're getting overloaded. So I've jacked them up pretty high, and I think what would happen as you build more bus lines, the load will diffuse out to the other lines. But right now, everybody's going to these 2 particular lines. But anyway, they're certainly efficient. They're certainly in need, and that's a good thing, because if you go down here, we've still got a pile of people right here at this bus stop here. So it's doing its job, and we've built our first bus routes. So now you know the basics of setting up your bus routes. If you have any questions, please note them in the comments below, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. If there's any topics you would like me to cover in a tutorial in the future, note them below too, because I'm always looking for ideas. And click on that subscribe button below and hit the bell too, so you don't miss out on more great tips on how to play the game of City Skylines. Click on the box below right now to get more great tips on how to play the game of City Skylines. Your city is going to have traffic signals, and lots of them, so you may as well learn how to synchronize traffic signals now before it's too late. So click on that box now to watch my tutorial titled How to Synchronize Traffic Signals, and I will see you there in my video. That's all for now, folks.